Hello, and thanks for stopping by. My name is Becky, and this is Bex Reads, and today I have a Thanksgiving collab for you guys with some of my fellow booktubers. This Thursday in the US, it is Thanksgiving, a holiday that really doesn't mean much to me, to be quite honest. It's sort of similar to Valentine's Day, in my opinion. I could take it or leave it. It's just an excuse for me to eat a lot of food, sometimes be around family and friends, and be extra thankful for things, I guess, until the Black Friday sale hits, and then the things that I have, I need more things, so, you know. Anyway, I did not come up with this idea. My friend Jackie, my coven member, she gave me this video idea to recommend or share books that start with each letter of the word thanks, thankful, or Thanksgiving. And I just turned it into a collab. So her idea, I organized the collab. So I will have everybody participating in this collab tagged down below, as well as a playlist where you can watch all their videos. You can show them support and be thankful for them as creators for giving you content today. Yay. So let's get into it, and I'm going to share some books that I am thankful for. Now, all of these books I did read, I did enjoy. So I am thankful in that aspect, but they haven't all been like life-changing books, except for the first book. So just imagine that we're on Sesame Street. It's Becky Street. T stands for Twilight. This is actually a book that I am very thankful exists. This is the book that got me started on my love of reading. I was a late bloomer to my love of reading, and I was late to reading this book. I read it when I was 19. My mom gave it to me for Christmas, and I really didn't enjoy reading before this book. I did it because I had to for school. I never read for enjoyment. And then I got this book, and I finished reading it in one day. The next day, I went out and I bought the second, third book, finished both of those in one day. And ever since then, I haven't been able to stop reading. So because this book came into my life, it changed the trajectory of my life. It gave me a passion. It gave me hobbies. It gave me an outlook for my expression on different things. It allowed me to meet friends and connect with authors. And it's why I'm here today sharing this video with my other fellow booktubers, because this book came into my life. So I will forever be thankful for Twilight. This is the literal copy that started it all. She is banged up, but I refuse to upgrade it because it's the one that started it all. H stands for Heart of Fire. This is the first book in the Legends of the Storm series by Beck McMaster. It is a pretty short book, and to be honest, this is my least favorite book in the series. But I loved this series. I own every single book in this series. I love the dragon shifter paranormal fantasy aspect to it. We're following this family of dragon shifters known as Dreki who live in like a historical Iceland setting. And they are trying to find their mates while also dealing with a lot of court politics within their family, dealing with the after effects of a very traumatic parental experience, and trying to just keep their kingdom alive. So, not my favorite in the series, but it is the one that kickstarted my love for this series. I loved the family dynamics. I loved the setting. I think this series gets a lot more in-depth and expansive as the books go along, and a couple of the books within the series actually made me cry. I say paranormal because it's set in a historic Iceland, but it verges on fantasy because there's dragons, there's court politics, there's things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to experience in Iceland to this day, so it's fantasy romance, let's just go with that. But this is one of my favorite series. I loved it. Check it out. A stands for Anatomy, a Love Story. I took the dust jacket off because I just like this pinkish color with this heart on it. So this is actually a book that is one of my 6-star reads. When I read it the first time, I could not put this book down. It's set in Edinburgh in the 1800s, following this young woman who wants to become a physician, but she can't because she's a woman. So she pretends to be a man. She gets found out. She has to learn how to do like anatomy on corpses, and so she enlists the help of a grave robber to bring her corpses. This book gave me all the gothic Edinburgh vibes. I loved the dark academia of it. I could not stop reading this. I think I just loved the atmosphere of it. I also loved the morbidity of it. I think this book is great as a standalone. I did not like the second book in this series at all. But this one, I don't know if I'd give it 6 stars on a reread, but I did enjoy it the first time I read it, and it was one of few books that actually started with an A that wasn't A blank blank blank. So I'm going with it. So if it sounds appealing to you, check it out. I know people who have loved it. I know people who have not loved it. So A. N is for Nightshade by Carrie Lake. So this is a gothic paranormal romance that revolves around reincarnation and religion and purgatory. And I absolutely loved it. This was actually recommended to me by one of my Instagram followers. She was like, you need to read this. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. Completely absorbed me. She a thick book, okay? But I could not stop reading this story. I loved the almost like religious trauma that these characters have. It's kind of dark in aspects of it, but the writing was so captivating. I loved the characters. I loved how they were willing to just give it all for their romance. I highly recommend this. K stands for Keeper of Enchanted Rooms, the only book that I don't own physically. But I did read this book and I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is a historical magical realism story. This is about a young woman who is a keeper of enchanted houses. So she goes to this enchanted house on this island in Rhode Island, I believe. And she is there to assess what needs to be done to this house, to try and rid it of its bad juju, per se. And there she ends up meeting the new owner of this house, who is kind of a prickly guy. He doesn't believe in magic all that much, but she is very much a magical person. And through them having to work together to make this house the best it can be, they end up forming a romance. This is historical, so there's absolutely no spice in it, but it has the sweetest romance in it. I loved the sentient house, and the ghosts that reside in it are so cute. And I loved the isolated island setting of this. So if you're looking for something with absolutely no spice, with a little bit of magic to it, check it out. F is for a book that you've seen a lot recently on my channel, and that is 4 Years Trapped in My Mind Palace by Johann Twist. This is another book that I am truly thankful exists because it is one of my favorite books. This book touched me on an emotional level every single time I've read it. I think it's just such a unique story that blends historical fiction and family dynamics and an unlikely friendship all together very well. If you want to know more about this book, I do have a dedicated review for it. I will link it down in the description. But this is definitely one that I think everybody should give a chance to. It has absolutely no romance in it, so, you know, if you're a diehard romance reader, you probably won't enjoy this. But I think it's a really great story that more people need to read. U stands for Upon a Frosted Star by Emma Kuzner. So this is a Swan Princess retelling. It is historical. And we follow this young woman who is cursed to become a swan every first snowfall. It's also got a bit of a Great Gatsby influence with it because this young man goes to this party and he sees this young woman in her human form and he is just enraptured by her. But when he goes back to try and meet her and figure out who she is, she's not there anymore until he meets her again on the next snowfall and the next snowfall. And he eventually discovers her curse and he sets out to try and help her to break this curse. And it leads to this romance that is very, very bittersweet. If you're looking for something with a happily ever after ending, this is not for you. This ends very bittersweet, but I loved the story. I loved the unique retelling. And it's just a beautiful book. So check it out. And L stands for Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. This is the only Jennifer Hartman book that I've read, and I absolutely loved this story. This is the story of a young boy named Oliver who gets kidnapped when he is a child, and he has just, like, freed himself from his kidnapper, and he's re-entering society, and he moves in next door to his childhood best friend, who was with him for most of the day that he disappeared. So she has some trauma with that, and she's never held out hope that he would be alive. So when he moves back in, they reconnect. But there are some dark secrets that have been left unanswered, and it's influencing their relationship. Now, I've seen this marketed as a dark romance, and in my opinion, I don't really think it is. There are some dark subject matters, but it doesn't take up the bulk of the story. For the most part, it's just a contemporary romance about these two people falling in love from when they were children to now him reconnecting with this world that has changed since he's a kid. The only thing that's really dark is the why and how of how he got kidnapped. So, not a dark romance in my opinion, which is probably why I liked it, to be quite honest, because this being the only book that I've read of this author, I think it's probably on the lighter end of what she writes. I am thankful that I enjoyed every single one of these books. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of them. But if you don't want to comment that, but would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, could you leave me a turkey emoji? There's gotta be a turkey emoji, right? And be sure to subscribe to all of my fellow booktubers if you are not already, and check out that playlist linked in the description to see what books they are thankful for. And with that, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. If you live in the US and are celebrating Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're not celebrating Thanksgiving, have a happy rest of your week. Bye.